pray. Amen. Okay, so this evening we are here to discuss hypertension. Many people go about with hypertension every day. The thing is, they don't even know that they have hypertension. So what is disease? Hypertension is a disease. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from the violation of the laws of health. And we can also say hypertension is an effort of nature to free the system of conditions that result from the laws of health. What are the laws of health? Pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power. These are our true remedies. So if we do these things, and I'm going to show you briefly this evening how you can use these same remedies to keep hypertension at bay. If the harmonious working of the system has become unbalanced by overwork, overeating, or other irregularities, do not endeavor to adjust the difficulties by adding a burden of poisonous medicine. So most times when someone has hypertension, the doctors are there to put you on medications that will help your situation, but oftentimes result in something worse than you already have. Hypertension, one nation under pressure. What is hypertension, by the way? A systolic blood pressure reading, which is the top number, consistently over 130, or a diastolic, which is the bottom number, above 80. Does anyone have any symptoms? If so, name 3 of them. Okay, I'm not going to wait for everybody because of time, but many times with hypertension, there are absolutely no symptoms. And this is why it is called the silent killer. But sometimes there are symptoms, which can be like headache. I've seen people with, they become disoriented and things of that nature. But anyway, the normal range for hypertension is you have to have a blood pressure less than 120 over 80. That is when you know that your blood pressure is doing well. So normal would be less than 120, and the diastolic less than 80. If it's elevated, it's 120 to 129 and less than 80. For high blood pressure now, when you start getting to stage 1 high blood pressure, it's 130 to 139 or 80 to 89 for the bottom number. And for hypertension, stage 2 is 140 or higher or 90 or higher. And for hypertensive crisis, it's higher than 180 and higher, and the bottom number is higher than 120, which I've seen. I've seen like 260, 110, 120, and those crazy numbers. And that's when you start getting into the stroke range. So a high range for hypertension is 130 or above for the systolic and 180 for the diastolic. And the readings, yeah, I just mentioned that you start getting into stroke areas when you start going up to 140 or over 90, and sometimes kidney failure. So hypertensive are 3 times more likely to have a heart attack, 5 times more likely to develop heart failure, 8 times more likely to suffer a stroke than people with normal blood pressure. It also raises your risk for diabetes, eye problems, and kidney disease. So there are some causes of hypertension. Chronic kidney disease is one of them. Adrenal gland fatigue, which causes inflammation of the arteries, diabetes, and obesity. These are all causes of hypertension. And there are other primary causes for hypertension, which are hereditary. It can be hereditary, which goes back to a violation of natural laws, low levels of vitamin D, and going to sleep after 10 p.m. at night. So if you're going to sleep after 10 p.m. at night, and you do that for 3 consecutive nights, it is likely to raise your blood pressure. Other causes are high sodium intake, low potassium intake, high fat foods, spicy foods, stimulating drinks, smoking, hormonal imbalance, lack of exercise, adrenal gland fatigue, obesity, and stress. Some more causes yet: eating all flesh, all caffeine-related drinks, high cholesterol, drug-induced blood pressure, competitive sports and activities, and loud talking. I would hasten to say that in hypertension, what you need is clear arteries, like a clear pathway for your blood to flow, and you're also going to need thin blood. And I will show you how you get this thin blood and how these things contribute. Eating these things like drinking things with caffeine constrict your blood vessels that the blood is not able to pass, and how not drinking water can cause your blood to become so thick that it's not able to pass through the veins, and it increases your blood pressure. So the first thing we're going to do is observe the laws of health. It's plain and simple. Now, the first law that we're going to be talking about when we talk about observing the laws of health, we're going to talk about pure air. But before we do that, many times I've heard the doctors tell the patients, oh, you're hypertensive, don't eat salt. But the truth is, if you have hypertension, you should be eating salt. However, we have to be eating the right kind of salt. See, the white table salt is no good for high blood pressure because it does raise your high blood pressure, because what has been done to the white salt is that they have bleached all the minerals out of the salt, and then maybe they put back iodine. So it has like 2 ingredients if it doesn't have the iodine, right? So it has sodium and chloride. And that sodium chloride is what contributes to raising the blood pressure. However, if you use the sea salt with the iodine or the pink Himalayan salt, these salts have minerals, over 80 minerals that you need, including the potassium that helps to balance the heart rate, right? And how the heart beats. So you need to be using pink Himalayan salt. Do not cut salt out of your diet, just use the right type. Because it has also electrolytes for the blood. And as I was saying, potassium is necessary for the heart. It regulates the heart function, and the kidneys and the organs function normally. So there are some foods that have potassium, right? And the first one on the list is blackstrap molasses. Then we have soybeans, we have potatoes. I know a lot of people, everybody's familiar with bananas. As soon as we say potassium, everybody says, oh, I'm going to eat a banana. There are nuts, there's avocado, there's coconut water, watermelon, kelp, and I know strawberries are also high in potassium. So if you went to your house and you saw that the tap was overflowing because you forgot to turn it off. You forgot to turn off the faucet, right? And you had the sink plugged. I am sure that what you would do first is to unplug the sink, turn off the faucet, unplug the sink, and then mop up. Because if you start mopping up and the faucet is not turned off and the sink is not unplugged, the water is going to continue to flow on the floor, correct? Yes. So now we're going to learn ways on how to turn off the faucet. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to change our diet. And what you will need to do is to avoid everything that is high in sodium. So that would mean your canned foods, your aged meat and your cheeses, and the cholesterol foods, right? That clog the arteries. Because remember, you want thin blood and open arteries. That's what you're going to need to control your blood pressure. Now, so we're going to avoid all flesh foods and their byproducts. That will be eggs, fish, turkey, beef, pork, all those things we're going to avoid. All kinds of hot pepper and hot sauces, condiments like ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, and because most of those things have vinegar anyway, and you're going to avoid the spices: black pepper, white pepper, curry, ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg. And there are some substitutes here that we can use for cinnamon and nutmeg, and those would be bay leaf, coriander, and cardamom. I have to tell you that they make a nice blend. So you want to also avoid excessive salt, even though you might be eating the right type of salt. You also want to be temperate with that. And you want to avoid refined sugars, high fat foods. Remember the thin blood, when all the fat starts going around in your blood, it's hard to pass through the arteries. So that contributes to your high blood pressure. That's how that works. You want to avoid the coffee and the caffeinated soft drinks and addictive stimulants, because those tend to thin the arteries. And avoid soda with the high sugar, and the tobacco, thinning the arteries again, and the alcohol. You want to exclude things like chocolate, tobacco again, coffee, caffeinated soft drinks. We said that. We need to avoid the fried foods and highly processed foods, because most of them come with a lot of fat. And remember, we need thin blood and open arteries. Anything that is white in the diet, unless it is naturally white, like refined flour, you want to avoid those things. Then you want to avoid something called tyramine, which is found in aged and fermented spoiled foods. So, in example, the meats, pork, most of the times you buy the meats in the supermarket, you have no idea how long they've been there. And I know you've seen videos going around where they paint the meat and to make it look fresh. And God knows what they're painting it with. You want to avoid those things. Cheese, chocolate, caffeine, alcohol again, avocados, overripe bananas, breadfruit. Those will all cause the blood pressure to be elevated, or you might even get allergic reactions to them. So excessive levels of tyramine. I know this word is probably new to some people. What is it and what does it do? It's an amino acid from tyrosine that breaks down the protein. It stimulates the release of norepinephrine, and which induces the flight or flight response, and anxiety. And you might say, well, so what does that do? If you are constantly in an anxious state, then your blood pressure will not go down. And I'm sure I often ask my patients if they're doing everything and their blood pressure is still not going down. I say, well, what are you worried about, right? It also blocks the serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter for regulating learning, mood, and sleep. So you don't want to do that because sleep is important also in controlling high blood pressure. So fruits and vegetables in their season is what you should be eating, but make sure that they're the best quality and not showing the slightest sign of decay. When I learned about this, it was kind of difficult because sometimes your fruits and vegetables are expensive and you might want to cut off the good part and throw out the bad part. But once it starts showing some signs of decay, throw the whole thing out. In Concept on Diet and Food, page 309, it says more die by eating decayed fruit and decayed vegetables, which ferment in the stomach and result in blood poisoning, than we have any idea. So you want to throw those fruits out. That shows signs of decay because now it's in the whole fruit, even though one part might look good. All right, so red grapefruit can lower triglyceride levels and cause your blood to flow easier. Remember, thin blood, open arteries, and lower your blood pressure, right? But if you are on high blood pressure medications, you want to avoid grapefruit. If you're not on high blood pressure medications and you want to eat some grapefruit, fine, it will help to lower your blood pressure. However, if you are already on antihypertensives, stay away from the grapefruit because it can keep the medication in your blood up to 3 days. And then if you keep on taking the blood pressure medicine, one day it will just drop. And that's not good for your well-being. Okay, next slide, please. We just discussed this one. So what should we eat? I've told you a whole lot about what you should not eat. What should you eat? You should drink a lot of water. Anybody knows that water is the best blood thinner that there is? Yes, it is. And you want to squeeze like a half a lemon to 1 cup of water in the morning. And I do this in the mornings. And why are we doing this? It will just help your whole, it will detox your whole body. It detoxes your liver, it detoxes your brain. It gives you a good bowel movement afterwards. And all those things are conducive to keeping your blood pressure down. You need to eat stuff like watermelon, guava, coconuts, mangoes, papaya, tomatoes, and pineapples. Also, you need to increase the amount of grapes that you're eating. We've all heard that wine is good to for your health. However, the same things that are in wine is in the grapes already. It's just in the natural form. So you might want to increase that. And cabbage, carrots, beets, asparagus, all these, and celery, and celery is also a diuretic. So it gives you thin blood, which is what you need. Cauliflower, broccoli, eggplant, legumes, garlic, onion, nuts, greens, and the use of the pink Himalayan salt with the iodine and trace minerals. You might also include a handful of walnuts or almonds, and they're excellent in lowering the fat in your meal and thus lowering your blood pressure because it will thin out the triglycerides in the blood. Nuts, seeds, peas, and beans are foods that the body converts into amino acids like L-arginine, which produces nitric oxide. And the nitric oxide relaxes the blood vessels that dilates, thus lowering the blood pressure. Beans are great because they're high in potassium. And remember what we said, potassium helps to relax the heart muscles. So, and the beans and rice is equivalent to giving a nitroglycerin tablet. Oftentimes we have patients who have chest pain and you give them a nitroglycerin and immediately it opens up the artery, the blood starts flowing again, no more chest pain. So that is what beans and rice will do for you. You also might want to include some lecithin granules in your diet, 1 to 2 tablespoons daily. Sunlight is another law. We just discussed nutrition. Now we're onto the sunlight exposure. It produces nitric oxide naturally, which aids in lowering blood pressure. Plus, walking in the sun helps to dilate your blood vessels and makes the blood flow freer, thus resulting in lower blood pressure. So you need a lifestyle change. To continue to unplug the sink, you avoid stress. So that's the trust in God part. You pray. Carefully read you pray, you listen to music that is uplifting and spiritual. You want to read some books that are spiritual in nature. All those things help to calm you down and keep you closer to God, and nothing better than the Bible. Carefully read your labels and select items low in salt and sodium. So you want to stay away from canned foods in that case. I already talked about the blood, the sleep. Try to go to bed before 10 p.m. Late nights increase cortisol hormone, which inflames the arteries and increases the blood pressure. You want to do some walking. Exercising for 60 minutes, 7 days a week can lower the blood pressure. Exercise involving the heart and the lungs significantly lower blood pressure, because when you walk, you automatically you get hot, the blood vessels get dilated, your blood pressure goes down. And plus, most times when you walk, you feel an increased sense of well-being, and just it relaxes you. So you want to do some walking. Walking is the best exercise, says my favorite author, Ellen G. And you want to make sure that you're getting your cardiovasculars in. Running, if you look at this chart, running is not as effective as walking when you talk about reducing high blood pressure. If you want to take a quick look at the chart. All right. All right, next slide, please. We talked about the 2 tablespoons of lemon in the cup. When you're drinking this lemon water, I forgot to mention, please drink it through a straw, because we want to protect the enamel on the teeth, and lemon can erode your enamel. You don't want that. Okay, so we're going to talk about hydrotherapy briefly. If your blood pressure is high, what you can do is get a basin that your feet can fit in, and put your feet, sit and put your feet in the water. Make sure as warm as you can bear. You might want to use your elbow to test the water. If you're diabetic, I do not suggest that you do this though. And you wrap your body with a towel or a blanket or something. So what you're doing is wrapping up the heart and the kidneys, because blood follows warmth, right? So when you put your feet in the hot water, the blood is going to rush rapidly through your system to go down to your feet. So what you're doing is really moving the blood to lower your blood pressure. but you have to keep the rest of the torso, the organs in the torso warm. So you want to make sure that you have them covered when that is happening, because you don't want to damage the heart and the kidneys, right? And make sure that you have an ice cold rack on your forehead. If you're diabetic, I do not suggest that you do this for your diabetics, however, because their sensation is impaired in the feet. So they might not be able to feel how hot the water is. So you don't want to do that for your diabetics. You can also do this for your arms. You can do the same thing with your arms. Again, if you're diabetic, do not do it. But it's very effective in controlling the blood or lowering the blood pressure. And there are some herbs that we can add. So first, we observe all the laws of health, because those are the true remedies. And then we start with if it's still not happening for you, then you move to some botanicals. So the first one we want to look at is garlic. So you eat 4 cloves of garlic daily, 2 cloves of garlic twice a day in chronic situations. So you divide it, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. And in chronic situations, 2 to 4 cloves of garlic 2 times daily. So you want to increase it. And this is good too, if you just include garlic in your food, you'll be amazed at the results that you receive. But be careful if you're on blood thinners, don't eat too much garlic, because garlic is also is a blood thinner. You want to include some flaxseed, 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flax seeds daily, and store the rest in your refrigerator. Don't leave it out, because it will oxidize if you're going to use flax seeds. Calcium and magnesium. Rich sources of calcium and magnesium: sunflower seeds, sesame seeds. You take a handful of pumpkin seed daily. Magnesium is a very great muscle relaxer. It relaxes all the muscles in the body, including the heart. This is why it's great for reducing hypertension. And liquid, you can do liquid. There's something by Bertrand called Calcium Plus or liquid magnesium. You can choose any of those and you will receive the benefits thereof. Then blackstrap molasses, take 2 tablespoons. If you are not diabetic, it tends to be very sweet. So that's a suggestion there. Vitamin D. How do we get our vitamin D? We walk in the sun. If you are a darker sister like me, you need 45 minutes to an hour and a half walking in the sun. And if you are lighter, you need 15 to 30 minutes. Or like us who live in the north, we don't get much sun, so we have to do supplements, 5,000 IUs daily until your levels are back. And the normal level is, well, the optimal level. Normal, the doctors will tell you it's about 30 or above, but optimal, it's 70 to 100. Vitamin D, by the way, is very beneficial in controlling blood sugars as well, not just high blood pressure. You can use bay leaves, 7 steeped for 40 minutes to 3 hours in 32 ounces of hot water. And drink it unsweetened. You can also use soursop leaves, avocado leaves, or breadfruit leaves. Breadfruit is very powerful, I can tell you that. I've used it before for people. Corn silk. The first thing that the doctors put you on usually when you have hypertension is a diuretic. And corn silk is a diuretic as well. Or so you can use parsley, a handful, or corn silk in 32 ounces of hot water. You steep it for 40 minutes to 3 hours, strain and drink as water daily. Use the treatment for 90 days, then 1 month off, then repeat until condition is resolved. And always remember, you're doing this in conjunction with the laws of health. Hawthorn berries, 2 tablespoons, bring 2 tablespoons to a boil for 15 minutes, draw for 40 minutes to 3 hours in 32 ounces of hot water 2 times daily, or 2 capsules per meal. It's a heart tonic, very powerful. And you can use, it's also useful in congestive heart failure, or for short, we call it CHF. Kelp or dose, you can sprinkle it over your food daily. And again, the Himalayan pink salt with iodine, which we've talked a lot about. Always boil the hard parts of the plant, such as the roots, rhizomes, seeds, or barks. Bring the water to a boil, the herb, and boil for 15 minutes, then draw for 4 hours. Strain and drink all day long. For the delicate parts of the plant, such as leaves, flowers, buds, stems, or clusters, draw or steep for 40 minutes to 3 hours. Strain and drink all day long. For a combination of hard and delicate plants of a plant, boil hard part first for 15 minutes, then add delicate part and draw for 4 hours. Remember, this might sound like a lot to control high blood pressure or reverse high blood pressure, because our aim is to make sure that we reverse the disease if you have it. And it sounds like a lot, but remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, says Philippians 4 verse 13. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, our Donna Lee, for such a profound presentation on hypertension. Does anyone have any questions? You can do so by raising your hand, or you can type your question in the chat. Okay.
While they're thinking about whether they have questions or not, I have a couple more things that are good to include as teas or in the diet for high blood pressure. We have linden flowers as well. We have the moringa plant. We have lemon balm. So try to look for these items, or maybe you've seen them in the supermarket before, but you don't know what they're for. Especially like the linden flowers, they're just sitting there on the shelves in the seasoning section. You can use them for high blood pressure if you have them.
We have a question. iPhone is asking what amount of corn silk is recommended?
A handful is good. If you have the powder, a tablespoon.
Okay. Jada, unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is, if you have somebody with, like they got fluid in the lungs because they're having the congestive heart failure, if you started giving them that hawthorn berry and the corn silk, will that help with the situation by chance?
From my experience, it has helped, and I believe it will help, because the corn silk is the diuretic. It's a really good diuretic, and there are usually great results with the hawthorn berry in strengthening the heart. So it will strengthen the heart. The beats will not be as many. It will regulate it, and then you add the corn silk to get rid of some of the fluid. I think it's a great combination.
Can I ask just one question, please?
Sure.
I've done some reading on CoQ10. Is it safe to use that with the hawthorn berry or just with the hawthorn berry alone?
It is safe, my sister, because when you use the hawthorn berry, it can lower the copper in your system. So it's good to take it with the CoQ10.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
I have a question.
go ahead.
You said, did I hear you say not to eat avocado if you have hypertension?
You should limit the amount of avocado that you eat if you have hypertension because of the high fat content. And even though it's a good fat, you want to be temperate with it because it will make the blood thicker. And remember, we want thinner blood and larger arteries, or a larger pathway for the blood to flow.
Okay, and you said to avoid condiments. Okay, but somebody said to put cayenne pepper to the lemon water because it will act like a catalyst to perpetuate the function of the lemon water.
Well, cayenne pepper is good medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that unless there's something wrong, I don't think it's something that we should be using every day. Because cayenne pepper is powerful. If somebody is having a heart attack, you can put it in some water and it will open up the blood vessel and help to avoid the heart attack or reverse the heart attack, right? So we really don't recommend that you use it in your diet every day unless something is wrong, and then you just use it for a time until your symptoms are resolved.
So if
Did I answer your question, my sister?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, please? Hello.
sure.
Thank you. Is there such a thing as high blood pressure being hereditary, or is it lifestyle?
I didn't hear the question. Can you repeat that, please? Or Sylvie, did you hear her?
Yes, she's asking if blood pressure can be called hereditary or is it the lifestyle?
Typically, blood pressure is a lifestyle disease because you see, we have a saying in our circles that says, heredity loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So that just means that you can be walking around with a loaded gun, or anyone can walk around with a loaded gun, but the onus is on you not to pull the trigger so you cause some damage to yourself or somebody else. It's the same thing with hypertension and heredity. If, like me, I know that my dad passed from kidney disease, right? So I'm doing everything that I can. And he had secondary hypertension, meaning the kidney disease gave him high blood pressure. So I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that I'm drinking my water and I'm doing all the things that I know to do to avoid that situation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Donnelly, and we respect the fact that you are a working person. So we thank you so much for your profound presentation and all the information. And I pray that persons are being helped